Before we talk about that, you two ladies just came back from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that must have been awesome. And you went with the Mr. George Fraser, so you were really getting it from his perspective, and he's all about the black family, the black culture, the black people, and how do we acquire economic equality in this new America that we're living in.
Yes.
So how was that?
The trip was I mean, we're still trying to, it's 2 weeks later and we're still trying to put together and process our thoughts and, process what we learned. We learned so much. It was a phenomenal trip. It was a mind-blowing, eye-opening trip, and we went with a great group of people. We went with Dr. Fraser. We went with Anthony Browder, the Egyptologist. We were with Dr. Whitaker, and so they were our elders.
Wow.
They were our elders, and we had I've never been on a study tour before, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but once we got there, we had a complete itinerary. We visited multiple temples throughout the day. We woke up for breakfast. We hopped on the bus. We had 5:30 a.m. wake-up calls.
Wow.
We sat and we had breakfast together. We got on our bus. We went to the temples. We had an amazing tour guide who was phenomenal and extremely, extremely knowledgeable, which is, I understand now why Anthony Browder works with him, because he's awesome.
Okay.
Ahmed is his name.
that the young man with his daughter at the Power Conference? He and his daughter were there at the conference?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. So he's actually Egyptian.
He lives in Egypt.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So we had our itinerary laid out. We visited some phenomenal temples and seen a lot. And one of the things I kind of felt in the beginning was I was really overwhelmed. I couldn't even process any more information. My head was hurting.
Oh, wow.
It was just so much, and I was just completely overwhelmed and just really grateful and thankful that I got an opportunity to see something like this and to see it with the group of people that we went with. So we are family. There was about 12 or 13 of us, but we are truly, truly family.
Fantastic. Now, Tanya, you travel everywhere.
Yes.
You and Jen, you guys have, I want to live y'all's life.
Me too.
Yeah, you do. Before that, they haven't even retired yet, and they go everywhere. So if we were going to rate your trips, where would this be?
This would be at the top. And we go to Paris every year. We go to Brazil every year. But we never really thought about going to Africa.
Okay.
I feel like I've been brainwashed for, I'm not going to say how old I am.
Right. Okay, that's okay, because we're all
over 50 years.
Right,
okay.
right.
I feel like I've been brainwashed because I didn't know what I didn't know. I almost didn't know that Egypt was in Africa. Okay. So Egypt is Africa. So those are kind of the things that I just didn't know. And I actually got mad. I'm mad that I didn't go before. I'm mad that I feel like Europeans have stolen our history and distorted things to their benefit, because it was an incredible, amazing trip. And to go with a group like Erin said that we went with was just eye-opening. We were empowered. We felt like we can do anything. We got a chance to speak to our ancestors and write letters to our ancestors. And we did three days on the Nile on a cruise. And so I rated number 1. Oh. Africa will be a place that I will definitely go every single year.
Wow.
Because of the experience. I think we're affected more than we even know when we came back. And we'll tell you about some aha moments later on in the conversation.
Okay.
Wow.
My niece, so this is a little history about me. My younger sister, she was, back in the day, I told her she was always she must have been the welcome committee, because anybody that was from another country, she seemed to, and most of them were coming from the Middle East and Egypt. And so my niece is actually part Egyptian. Her dad, my sister married him, and so my niece is Egyptian, and so she was here until she was 5. I pretty much took care of her, and then when she was 5, my sister took her to Egypt. So she lived in Egypt with her family till she was 23 years old, and then we brought her back to the States because she wasn't quite. She just needed to be here, and so she came, and she didn't understand one word of English. and I did not speak one word of Arabic.
Really?
And so we had to compete, we had to communicate. But again, she was in her 20s. But like our 20s, your 20s, no, she wasn't she was really the equivalent of a really more of a 15, 16-year-old.
Really?
So here she is coming to America in her 20s, an illegal adult. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't speak the language. I don't really speak the Arabic language. And but what I found out when she was here, because I was concerned, she's a beautiful young lady. I was like, oh Lord, all the predatory whatevers are just going to take advantage of her. But I found out that she had a lot of other things that are completely chaotic. But her sense of understanding how to deal with a man, oh, she had that down. I never had to worry about that because she could handle it. And because she was so naive, she couldn't speak the language. They had no choice but to call me to ask if they wanted to take her out on a date and how they should take her or how they should communicate. Because, young men in their 20s are speaking slang. She didn't even speak English, so she truly didn't understand the slang part. She's like, what do they mean? And then they'd call me and go, I want to take her out. How do I do that? And then I get to have that conversation with them before they actually got out, right? And then just some of her colloquialism, she would use her leg, which she really meant her foot. She'd go, my leg hurt. And I'm like, you mean your foot? So now she's her birthday day after mine. She's 34. And so she's been in and out of the country. But one of the things that's different from her to our children is that she will pick up in a minute and go back to Egypt. One guy she talked to, I found she was on her way to Turkey. So she's lived in Turkey by herself. And she's gone back to Egypt. She went back 2 years ago as a makeup artist because that's what she came here to go to school for. And she worked on set for 2 years. But Egypt has become very difficult for the young people to live. There's no way for them to make a living. So she learned it firsthand because her family are all off onto different tangents. So she had her own apartment. But you can't be that independent in the new Egypt when you are Middle Eastern and you are a Muslim. And so now she came back here. She moved to Ventura. She got her a room. She does eyebrows and makeup up there, and she lives up there on her own. And she likes Ventura, but much more free-spirited, much more independent. And I have another girlfriend that grew up in South Africa the same way. When she was 19, she left home and went to Europe to live. She went to England and she went to Italy to live. And so a different mindset and a different way of conducting themselves. So now my niece she wants to get married to some guy in Qatar. And I was like, whoa, we done been here. So you don't work over there. You cannot have, as a Muslim young woman, you can't have that freedom.
Yes.
Because of the religious constraints over there. So that's interesting.
Yes.
But for us, did you feel more black?
I did. I did. I felt a closeness. I felt a oneness with the people. They really admire African Americans. And one lady, not on this trip, she said, "You're not African American. You're African." And I really understand that. But they almost kind of worship you because they see that you've come up, that you've made it, so to speak, a lot better than what they have there. So they just love you. They come up to you and they just want to talk to you, and they're relentless. They're probably the best salespeople I've ever seen in my life. I mean, little kids are just so cute, and just for $1. I know we experienced that when we wrote Campbell's.
Really?
Oh, wow.
And Erin did the
hot air balloon ride.
Oh, did you?
4 a.m. It was an amazing view. I mean, you had like the desert on one side, and it looked like there was like this divider that was just dividing. That was dividing Egypt, So there was the desert on one side, and then you had these crops on the other side, and it was just a beautiful sight. You had all these hot air balloons that were going up, that were lighting up the sky at 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning. So it was a sight to see.
So did you go to Alexandria?
We went to Cairo. Luxor? We went to Luxor. We went to Aswan. We went to We went to the Nubian village. It's my favorite. Because everyone looks like us. Everyone looks like us.
So when you say, do we feel black? We feel proud.
Yeah. Feel proud.
You really, really feel proud when you come back from there. Because our history, what we learned so much in some of our study groups, that before American history, there was African history. And so when you learn all that, it is just incredible to know that what your history is, how powerful we are, and how, what's another word? It's
just mighty and great.
How
invincible. I mean, that's one of the words that I can kind of describe how I felt when we left. We had an aha moment our last day. Because we knew that it was going to be a transformational trip. We knew that we were on this journey to information.
Tell them about the passage, how it started.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
The first thing, they were very organized. So they had certain things we had to do, like write a letter to our ancestors. And the first thing we did was they gave us a passage just to kind of bring us into the light of really what everything's about. You want to read it?
Yeah. Is that okay?
Please do.
Okay. So, Middle Passage Reflection, Dear Tour Africa, Egypt, 2018 Sojourner. Less than 6 hours ago, you lifted off from JFK International Airport on your historic transatlantic flight to Kemet, Egypt, North Africa. Whether this is your first trip or a return visit, there is almost no doubt that you have awaited this departure with great anticipation, right?
Yes.
We were counting down. Down since last year. Despite your conscious personal motivations, you're also participating in an important homegoing as part of an ongoing testament to all of those that survived the indescribable horrors of the dreaded transatlantic enslavement process. Your trip will stand as another important expression of gratitude to those who endured, adapted to, and survived the terror of enslavement while clinging to life with the hope that one day you would learn of and tell their story. It is undeniable that you are a descendant of the strongest of the strong Africans who, despite the conditions, circumstances, or abuse, defy death and serve as living testaments to the fact that Black life cannot be extinguished. It is our sincere hope and prayer that the important initiatives you commence as a result of this journey will A, lay the cornerstones for a new era of humanitarianism for the global village. B, guide and enhance the purpose-driven meaning in your life. C, bring attention, voice, and honor to those who yearn to be heard. And D, contribute to crafting the reconciliation model needed to make the world a better place for all. We see you as a seasoned and mature professional. We encourage you to seize every available opportunity to research and craft a new narrative of present-day descendants throughout the world, and to determine how their lives and histories have contributed to, overlap, and interface with your own. More importantly, while crossing the Atlantic tonight, be mindful that you are flying over the world's largest African cemetery, which holds the unmarked graves of countless millions of your African ancestors, victims of global terrorism, who were murdered, dying tragically without proper funeral rites, whose families and communities were denied the traditional opportunity to pay their respects, support their passage to the afterlife, and whose spirits continue to cry out for closure. Your assignment during this leg of your journey is to draft a letter to your African ancestors, those who helped lay the foundation for ethics, morals, science, medicine, art, civilization, architecture, law, education, spirituality, etc. Those that fought and died to remain free, as well as those that survived to continue the unrelenting challenge to enslavement, Jim Crow, discriminatory laws, oppressive practices, and all other forms of disenfranchisement to make your life possible and or more comfortable. Once completed, keep your letter with you at all times and make edits as you wish during your sojourn so that it will be available when called for. Enjoy your flight. A new future looks forward to collaborating with you on the other side. Yours truly, Dr. George Fraser, Anthony Browder, and Dr. Whitaker.
Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
That was just the beginning. That was at the airport.
Right.
We get
Really?
this.
Oh my God.
So this was just the beginning.
Yes.
And it got better
What did
and
you think
better.
after you read that? At the airport.
this is my first time flying across the Atlantic,
right.
So this is my longest trip,
right.
my furthest trip. So, but I didn't even think that.
Right.
I didn't even
You're
think.
just going on vacation.
Yeah,
Your parents going on vacation all the time.
I didn't even think about the graveyard. How many people are in that body of water. I didn't even think that, and just that alone was mind blowing.
Right. They brought us into the moment. It was the awareness they wanted to bring us into the moment, because remember, we don't know our history. I found out I didn't know anything about my history. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited about studying more, going back, learning more, and applying what we learned, and so we can make it better.
So are you going to do your DNA?
I am going to do my DNA.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the first thing that I'm going to do.
I did my ancestry because I needed to find out what here. And then when I get to the Power Network conference this summer, I'm going to do my African one. Yeah. Now, I watch a lot of foreign movies.
Yes.
And which helps you better understand other cultures, right? So there was a movie, and I go through different nationalities and different types of people. So this last couple weeks ago was my Nigerian African movement. Mm-hmm. So I found a movie on Netflix, and I can't remember the name at this point, but this guy was from where was he from? He was from Cameroon, I think. I think that's where he's from. And he worked at he was a tour guide, and he was at the